It was freezing, and I couldn't feel my fingers anymore. The wind kept slicing through my jacket like it wasn't even there. I stood outside the cafe like an idiot, holding my phone, staring at a screen that refused to light up. 12 missed calls. 0 replies. I told myself I'd only wait 5 more minutes. Then 5 more. Then I lost count. He wasn't coming. I knew that, but I stayed. The parking lot was mostly empty now. Just flickering yellow lights and the distant hum of a highway. I pulled the sleeves of my sweater over my hands, pressed them to my mouth, exhaled, and then I heard the slow crunch of tires on gravel. A car. A black sedan. Clean, polished, expensive looking. It rolled to a stop right in front of me, windows tinted like a mirror. I flinched, then the window came down, slow and silent. Inside, a man. Maybe 50. Maybe a bit more. Sharp features, gray. At the temples, eyes shadowed by the dashboard light, and then he said it. Are you still waiting for him? I blinked. What? He didn't answer immediately. He just looked at me. Not the way strangers do. Not curious or confused. More like, he knew exactly who I was. Anna, right? My blood went cold. I took a step back. Do I know you? He nodded slowly. You were with my son, Michael. I stared. My heart thudded so loud I could barely hear his voice. I remembered his face now, a little. From photos in Michael's apartment. The framed one on the bookshelf. The one Michael always turned face down when he was pissed off, his father. Richard. He opened the passenger door with a soft mechanical click. You're freezing. Get in. No, I'm not going to hurt you. That's what all the worst men say right before they do. He sighed and looked away, like he was expecting that. Fair. But I'm not here for that. I didn't move. I just saw you out here. Thought I should stop. That's all. You live in Boston. I was in town for business. Drove past, recognized you. That's impossible. I remember faces, he said, calmly. Especially the ones that my son breaks. I looked down at the pavement. My fists clenched in my coat sleeves. Is he here? I asked quietly. In town? No, Richard said. And he won't be. Silence. I'm sorry, he added. I almost laughed. You're sorry? For what he did? Or for stopping? Both, probably. I bit the inside of my cheek. Hard. It started to rain, first drizzle. Then cold, heavy drops that soaked into my collar. Richard leaned over and pushed the door open wider. Anna. Just get in the car. I hesitated, then I got in. I don't know why. Maybe because I was tired. Maybe because I was stupid. Or maybe because something in his voice sounded more honest than anything Michael had ever said to me. The door shut with a dull thunk. The inside of the car smelled like cedar and something expensive. The heat was on. My cheeks burned. He handed me a napkin from the console. I wiped my hands. We didn't speak for at least 2 blocks. Just the soft hiss of tires on wet asphalt, and the occasional beat of the windshield wipers. Then I said it. Do you know what happened? He didn't look at me. I know enough. I scoffed. What does that mean? I know he lied to you. Led you on? Left without warning. I stared out the window. He blocked me the day after I told him I was late. I whispered. Just gone. Richard gripped the wheel a little tighter. I'm not surprised, he said. You're not. What the hell kind of father says that? He glanced at me. An honest one. Your son destroyed me. I believe you. I swallowed, hard. Then why are you here? He didn't answer right away, because, he said slowly, I saw a girl standing in the cold where no one should be waiting anymore. And I thought, maybe someone should stop this time. That shut me up. The car was too quiet. I was breathing too loud. I'm not him, Anna. I didn't say you were. You're looking at me like you expect me to be. Maybe I am. He pulled the car to the side of the road. Empty, residential street. Dead silent. Then he turned to me, and I swear something shifted. You remind me of someone, he said. Your ex's new girlfriend? He smiled faintly. No. Someone I left behind a long time ago. I narrowed my eyes. Oh? Did she cry? In the rain, too? He didn't laugh. He looked almost haunted. Her name was Grace. My breath caught. My mother's name is Grace, I said. He looked straight at me. Really looked. What's her last name? I hesitated. Chambers. Richard went white. I need you to tell me exactly where she lives, he said, very quietly. No. Please. I need to know. What the hell is this? I knew her, he said, his voice shaking slightly. Years ago. In college. I was supposed to marry her. And then he stopped. Swallowed. I walked away. I stared at him, suddenly. I was more cold than before. More awake. More exposed. You knew my mom? I think I did. And then you just left? I made a mistake. So what? You think you can fix it through me? No, he said instantly. God, no. That's not why I stopped. Then why did you? He paused, and then, because when I saw you standing there, I thought it was her. And I couldn't breathe. He looked like he'd seen a ghost. Maybe he had, maybe it was me. I sat frozen in his passenger seat, my hands clenched into fists in my lap. The heater hummed low, soft, steady. It felt wrong in that moment, that there could be warmth anywhere at all. You thought I was my mom, I repeated. Richard nodded once, eyes locked on mine. You look like her. Around the mouth. And your eyes. Same kind of anger. Wow, I said flatly. Romantic. I don't mean it like that. No? I turned to face him. Because let me get this straight, you walked out on my mother, then your son walked out on me, and now you're sitting here, trying to, what? Make peace? Rewrite history? Get closure? I'm trying not to repeat my past, he said. That's all. I scoffed. Little late for that. He didn't say anything. He just sat there, jaw set, breathing slow. I don't need your pity, I added, almost a whisper. This isn't pity. I turned away, facing the fogged window, watching the condensation gather in the corners. She never talked about you, I said. Not once. Not in 21 years. His voice was tight. That's worse than I deserve. She met my dad when she was already pregnant. He raised me. I know. You know? He nodded. I looked it up. A few years ago. I tried to find her. You tried? She moved. Disappeared. Changed her name. She got married, I snapped. She built a life. And I wasn't part of it, he said. By my own choice. I know. I looked down at my lap. My voice came out hollow. She used to cry at night sometimes, I said. Not loud. Just quiet enough that I wasn't supposed to hear it. He swallowed. Now I wonder if she was crying about you. He didn't answer. We sat in silence. The kind that filled every crack. The kind that made your ribs ache wide. You leave her? I asked finally. Just tell me that. He exhaled slowly, like he'd been holding it in for decades. Because I got scared, he said. I was 23. I had a good job offer across the country. She was pregnant. I panicked. I told myself I'd just go for a while. Save some money. Figure things out. I told myself I'd come back. But you didn't. No, he said, softly. I met someone else. Got married. Had a son. I tried to be a better man. And when that marriage fell apart, I thought about Grace again. My mom. Yeah. I sat there, heart pounding. Part of me wanted to scream. Part of me wanted to crawl out of the car. Part of me wanted to ask if he remembered what color her eyes were. Instead, I asked something else. Why did you stop? Tonight, Richard. He didn't answer right away. I don't know, he said. Maybe because when I saw you, I saw every mistake I ever made. Standing right there on the sidewalk in the cold. I hated how raw that made me feel. You're not responsible for me. Maybe not, he said. But I can't drive past you again. I stared at him. Again? He blinked. Looked down. I've seen you there before, he admitted. What? He winced. Weeks ago. I was in town for a conference. I drove by the cafe and saw you standing in that same spot. Alone. I recognized you. You were always quiet, but I remembered your voice. My heart started pounding. You didn't stop. I was afraid. Of what? Me? No, he said. Of myself. That silenced me. I didn't want to feel anything. Not sadness, not pity, not heat. But it was there. Rising, uninvited. He looked at me again, not hungrily, not like a man searching for a fantasy. He looked at me like someone looking into a mirror that tells the truth. I just wanted to make sure you were okay, he said. I'm not. He nodded. Neither am I. The rain kept falling. He leaned his head back against the leather seat. He looked older now. Not tired. Just real. Your son ghosted me after I told him I might be pregnant, I said. He didn't flinch. I figured. You figured? I know him. He panics. He runs. I stared at him. Just like you. Exactly like me, he said, with a sharp, sad laugh. That's the cruelest part. I didn't say anything. He looked at me, more gently now. Were you? Was I what? Pregnant. No, I said quietly. It was a scare. That's all. He closed his eyes briefly. Like he was praying. Or regretting all over again. Would you like me to take you home? He asked. I shook my head. I don't want to go home yet. You want me to drop you somewhere? I looked at him. I didn't speak for a long time. Then, finally, no. I want you to talk to me. Just talk. Don't make me feel like a ghost. Don't make me into another girl you drive past. He looked shaken by that. Moved. All right, he said. Then don't make me into a memory. I looked out the window. Raindrops chased each other down the glass. Tell me something about her, I said. Something only you would know. His voice was slow, steady. She used to hum when she made coffee. Always something out of tune. Never the same song. She hated mornings but loved the smell of beans. I smiled. A little, that's still true. He smiled back. She was terrible at folding fitted sheets. She still is. And, he added, she kissed like she already missed you. Even when you were right in front of her. I felt my heart twist. I never knew any of that, I said. That he looked at me. You should have. We sat there, quietly, for what felt like an hour. Eventually, I leaned my head against the window, and he said, you don't have to wait anymore, Anna. Not for him. Not for answers. And for the first time in months, I believed someone even. If I shouldn't have. We didn't speak for a long time after that. The rain had softened into a mist, clinging to the windshield like breath on glass. Streetlights blurred into halos. The silence in the car wasn't awkward, it was heavier than that. Weighted. Like if we moved too suddenly, something would crack open. I watched his hands on the steering wheel, strong. Steady. A little scarred. Like he'd done real things with them. Not like Michael's, smooth, careless, always tapping on a screen or resting on someone else's waist. Do you still love her? I don't know why I asked it. His eyes flicked toward me, sharp, then soft. I never stopped, he said. The words hung there. I felt them like a bruise beneath the skin. That's a nice thing to say to her daughter. I muttered that he didn't take the bait. Instead, he sighed and turned the ignition. The car idled back to life. I'm taking you somewhere, he said. I didn't agree to that. You didn't say no either. I opened my mouth, then closed it. Something about his tone, not controlling, not pushy. Just solid. Like, he wasn't afraid to make a decision. I hated how much I needed that right now. We drove in silence. 10 minutes later, we pulled into a dimly lit parking lot outside a small coffee shop. The kind that's open too late for its own good. The kind where no one asks questions. He looked over at me. Come on. I'm not hungry. I know. Just come inside. I followed him. I don't know why. Maybe because I didn't want to be alone again. Maybe because I needed to feel like someone, anyone, still saw me as a person. Inside. The place smelled like cinnamon and burnt espresso. The barista barely glanced up. We took a booth in the far corner. Red vinyl seats. Sticky table. He ordered 2 coffees. Black. No sugar. No fuss. You always drink it like that? I asked. He nodded. Old habit. Tastes like consequence. I gave him a faint smile. You look like you haven't slept in days, he said, watching me. I haven't. He didn't ask why. Didn't need to. I stared into my cup. It steamed like something alive. Do you hate him? I asked. He didn't flinch. No, he said. But I'm disappointed in him every day. I looked at him. Really looked. There was so much in his face that Michael never had. Weariness, regret, depth. Time. He's not you, I said quietly. No, Richard said. And that's not always a good thing. There was a pause. I stayed with him through everything, I whispered. Even when I knew he was cheating. Even when he laughed at the way I cried. I stayed because I thought it would change. Richard didn't look away. He didn't pity me either. I've been the man who made someone feel like that, he said. And I've been the man who watched it happen from the outside. Neither version feels better. I breathed in. Slow. Shaky. You didn't come here for her, did you? I asked suddenly. His eyes flickered. No, you came for me. I didn't know I was, he admitted. But when I saw you, I couldn't look away. I leaned back. The booth creaked under me. You shouldn't say things like that. I know. You're my ex's father. I know. My mother's ghost. That one hurt. He looked down, then back at me. You don't feel like a ghost, he said. You feel more real than anyone I've met in years. My chest tightened. It wasn't what he said, it was how he said it, like it had cost him something. I didn't speak. I didn't move. Then his hand slid forward, slow, careful, and stopped near mine on the table, not touching, just close. Tell me to back off, he said, voice low. I didn't. I couldn't. Instead, I whispered, why do you look at me like that? He didn't blink. Because I missed my chance once, he said, and I'll never forgive myself for it. And now I see a woman who's hurting the same way your mother once did, and I want to protect her. Even if I'm the last person who should. I swallowed. You don't even know me. I know enough. You don't know what I've done. Neither do you. We stared at each other longer than was appropriate, longer than was safe. The coffee shop doorbell rang behind us, someone coming in, and we both startled like we'd just touched a live wire. I stood up too fast. My knee hit the table. Let's go, I said. He didn't argue. We walked back to the car, neither of us speaking. The air outside had that thick, post-rain smell. The kind that felt like it was trying to start over. Inside the car, I buckled my seatbelt with shaking fingers. Where to? He asked. I hesitated. Then I said the worst possible thing. Drive. He glanced at me. Eyes searching. But he started. The engine. We drove for nearly an hour, through sleepy neighborhoods, along dark highways, Into the outskirts where houses disappeared and the silence got thicker. Eventually, I said, pull over. He did. Clearing off the road. Trees behind us. Nothing but stars and moonlight. I turned to him, and something in my chest cracked open. I don't want to feel this way, I said. But when I look at you, I don't feel invisible anymore. His jaw clenched. I shouldn't want this, he said. Then don't. But I do. And then? I reached for him, not because I wanted to replace anyone, not because I needed comfort, but because, for the first time in months, someone saw me, not as broken, not as something to fix, not as a mistake someone walked away from, but as a human being, and he kissed me like I was still whole. We didn't speak the entire drive back. His hands stayed locked on the wheel, knuckles pale in the faint glow of the dashboard. My body was pressed against the door, cold glass against my temple, breath fogging the window. I could still feel his mouth on mine, not hungry. Not reckless. Not like someone taking. It was the kind of kiss that asked permission even as it happened, and that was somehow worse. It meant he meant it. The headlights rolled across familiar streets as the silence between us thickened. And I wanted to break it, wanted to say something, anything, but my throat was tight. So I just said, here. He pulled over by the curb in front of my apartment building. The engine stayed on. I reached for the handle, paused. I shouldn't have done that, I whispered. He didn't look at me. No. I shouldn't have let you. A bitter silence followed, and then, quietly, but I don't regret it. I froze slowly. I turned back to face him. His jaw was set, but his eyes, those eyes, they were all wrong. They weren't confident, weren't flirtatious. They were exhausted. Raw. Ruined. I said, even though I wasn't sure. It was true. He nodded like he understood. Good night, Anna. The way he said my name made me hate him, and myself. I stepped out and shut the door too hard, like I needed the noise to snap me out of whatever had just happened, inside my apartment. I stripped off my clothes like they were evidence. Brushed my teeth like his kiss was still on my mouth. Climbed into bed like I deserved to be alone, and when I finally fell asleep, I dreamed of a man who used to love my mother, and now maybe, wanted me. The next morning I woke up too early, eyes grainy, head pounding. I didn't check my phone. I didn't need to. He hadn't texted. I stared at the ceiling, trying to convince myself it didn't mean anything. It was a moment. A mistake. Nothing more, except that I'd leaned in first, except that his hand had trembled when he touched my face, except that I hadn't wanted it to stop. The knock on the door came at 10:37 a.m. I stayed frozen under the blanket. Hoping it wasn't him. Praying it wasn't him. Another knock. Anna, came his voice through the door. Soft. Measured. Shit. I pulled the blanket tighter. Didn't move. I'm not coming in. I just need to say something. I sat up. Every nerve screaming. I crossed a line last night. We both did. My throat tightened. He continued, still through the door. I'm not here to justify it. I just need you to know, that wasn't about lust. Or confusion. Or some pathetic attempt at reliving the past. I stood and approached the door but didn't open it. It was about you, he said. Only you. Silence, and then I heard his steps retreat. I opened the door a second later, just in time to see him disappear down the hall. 3 days later I didn't see him. Didn't text. Didn't call. He didn't either, but I felt him everywhere. Every black sedan. Every older man with a slow stride. Every time someone said my name. I couldn't escape the feeling that I had been permanently altered. Like something inside me had turned to face him, and couldn't turn back. Then, on Thursday, I walked into my mother's kitchen and saw him sitting there, with her. My breath caught. They were drinking coffee. She looked older than usual. Her face pinched. Tired. He stood up slowly. Anna, he said. Like it was a question. My mom turned to me. You remember Richard, don't you? I nodded, stiff. Yeah. I remember. I invited him. Why? She looked surprised. Because he's your ex's father. He said you ran into each other and talked. I thought it was a chance to clear the air. I looked at him. Cold. Distant. He didn't flinch. We talked, all right, I muttered. Anna, my mom said, warning in her tone. Richard's eyes never left mine. He was silent. Still. Unmoving. But there was something happening behind his expression. I could see it. So could she. Am I missing something? She asked slowly. I looked away. No, I said. You're not. That night I found myself in his car again. I don't even remember texting him, just remember sitting beside him in the dark, parked behind a row of empty shops after hours. Headlights off. Engine quiet. I shouldn't have gone to her, he said. She doesn't know. She's not stupid. Silence. I've been thinking, I said. You didn't come back for her. You didn't come back for Michael. You came back because you couldn't breathe without guilt anymore. He didn't deny it, but now, I continued, you're playing with something else. With me. He turned sharply. I'm not playing. Then what are you doing? I don't know, he said, almost choking on the words. I only know that when I see you, I see every part of me that still wants to try. Try what? To be better. I looked at him for a long time. Every breath between us was another risk. You make me feel dangerous, I whispered. He swallowed. You make me feel alive, he said, and then, very carefully, he reached out and touched my hand. This time, I didn't pull away. I just whispered, if we do this, there's no going back. And he said the one thing that broke me, Anna? I don't think I've wanted to go back since the night I saw you standing in the rain. When he kissed me again that night, I didn't stop him. I didn't even hesitate. We were still in the car. Still parked behind that dark row of shops. No headlights. No music. No world outside the windows. Just breath and trembling hands and the kind of tension that made my skin buzz. This time, the kiss wasn't soft. It was desperate. Messy. Real, like we were both drowning and only the other had air. He touched my jaw like I was fragile. I touched his chest like I needed to feel a heartbeat that wasn't mine. Our lips moved like the world was ending. And maybe it was, the version we knew, at least, when we pulled apart, I didn't open my eyes. I couldn't, because I knew if I saw his face, I'd fall deeper into something I had no words for, something I didn't want to name. Anna, he said, voice wrecked. Don't say it, I whispered, but I need to. No, I looked at him now, fully. Don't tell me this means something if you're going to walk away again. His face twisted. I'm not walking away. I wanted to believe that. I almost did, but the guilt in his eyes was bigger than any promise. The next morning my phone rang at 8:06 a.m. I didn't want to answer it, but I did. Hey, it's Michael. His voice. Just like I remembered. Careless. Bored. A little amused. I sat up in bed. Dizzy, what do you want? Mom said you've been seeing my dad. I froze. How does she know? I asked. She said she bumped into him. And he let it slip. You two had caught up. He laughed. Which, I gotta say, is hilarious. You're the last person I thought he'd check on. I felt cold all over. Why are you calling me, Michael? Because I think this is some kind of sick revenge thing. What? Come on. You get dumped, you find the nearest older man with a suit and a sad smile. He's your father. Exactly, he said, mock serious. Which is why you need to back the hell off before this turns into something it shouldn't. My throat tightened. You don't get to tell me what to do. I'm just saying, he drawled. You're not the first girl to confuse grief with attraction. You ghosted me, I said. I thought I was pregnant and you vanished. You don't get to moralize now. There was a pause. Whatever, he muttered. Just don't drag my dad into your damage. And then he hung up. I stared at the screen for a full minute before I threw the phone across the bed. I wasn't crying, not yet, but my chest hurt in that deep, dull way that said it wouldn't stay quiet for long. Later that day I met Richard in the park, quiet, isolated, the kind of place no one goes on a weekday unless they're hiding. He knew the second he saw my face. What happened? Michael called me. He nodded slowly. I figured he would. He knows, Richard. He exhaled, rubbing his jaw. What exactly did he say? That I'm using you. That I'm grieving and confused and disgusting. You're none of those things. I shook my head. This was a mistake. He stepped closer. Don't do that. Don't let him rewrite your truth just because he couldn't handle his own. I kissed you, I snapped. In your car. In the dark. In the same week you drank coffee with my mother. That's not truth, Richard. That's chaos. I know. And you let it happen. Yes. You could have stopped it. So could you. We stood there, chest to chest, breathing too loud for a quiet place. Then I said it. I'm scared of how much I need you. His eyes softened. But he didn't touch me. Anna, you're the first thing in years that's made me feel awake. I looked down at my shoes. If she finds out, she already knows, he said quietly. I looked up. What? Your mother. I told her everything. Silence crashed like glass around us. You what? I didn't give her details. But I told her we'd crossed a line. You had no right. She's not stupid, Anna. She saw it coming. I stepped back like I'd been slapped. You went to her before you came to me? I thought she deserved to know. What about what I deserve? His face twisted in pain. I didn't want this to be a secret anymore. Not something shameful. But it is shameful. I shouted. People were staring. I didn't care. I'm half your age, I said. I dated your son. My mom once cried over your name in the dark. And now I'm the one kissing it like a lifeline. He didn't move. Didn't speak, and I hated him for that. I turned and walked away. That night I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. My phone on the pillow beside me, dark and still. I kept picturing his face, the guilt, the longing, the way he looked when I said I was scared, and then a message from an unknown number. There's no version of this that ends easily. But I'm not walking away. Not unless you tell me to. I stared at the words until the screen dimmed, then I typed back, then stay. But be prepared to burn everything we came from. My mother didn't knock, she didn't call, she just opened the door to my apartment like she used to when I was 15 and forgot to unload the dishwasher. I was on the couch in sweatpants, wrapped in a blanket, pretending I was watching a movie. But the screen was paused, and the coffee next to me had gone cold 2 hours ago. She stood in the doorway with her arms crossed. She didn't look angry, she looked like someone who had lost sleep. Do you want to tell me what the hell is going on between you and Richard? My heart stopped. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Mom, I'm not asking because I'm curious, she snapped. I'm asking because he stood in my kitchen and told me there's something happening between you two. I sat up, legs suddenly heavy. He told you that? No details, she said. But he didn't have to. I saw the look in his eyes. I swallowed hard. She walked slowly into the room and sat across from me, elbows on her knees. Her voice dropped. Are you sleeping with him? I blinked. Jesus, Mom. I'm serious. I'm not answering that. She exhaled sharply, rubbed her hands together. Do you have any idea what you're doing? I'm not a child. You're not thinking. I'm thinking more clearly than I have in months. She stared at me like I was someone she didn't recognize. This is the man who left me before you were born. And you never told me why. Because it hurt. And now he's back, I said, and you can't stand that he sees me. Instead of you. Her face went still, the silence between us twisted into something poisonous. You think that's what this is, she said quietly. That I'm jealous of my daughter? You never forgave him, I said. And you never forgave yourself for still loving him. She stood up so fast her chair squeaked. You don't know anything about what I carried, she hissed. Do you know what it's like to raise a baby alone? To walk through town and see him with someone else? To cry in your car outside the grocery store because the woman at checkout asked how your husband was doing? My hands were shaking. I know I needed you, I said, voice breaking, and you were never whole enough to be there. She looked like I'd slapped her, and maybe I had. I waited for love my whole life, I whispered. And the only person who ever made me feel like I mattered, like I wasn't just a backup plan or a broken version of something better, was him. Tears filled her eyes. You are not a replacement for me, she said. You're not my shadow. I know that, I said. But when he looks at me, he doesn't see you. Her expression shattered. She turned her face away, and that's when I knew she hadn't come to stop me. She'd come to warn me. You think he won't leave again? She asked. You think this time it's different? You're 21, Anna. He's lived 2 whole lives before you were old enough to read. Then why did he come back? Because he's lonely. Because regret tastes better when you serve it warm. Because sometimes men like Richard mistake guilt for love. I wiped at my eyes. You're wrong. God, I hope I am, she said. She walked to the door, stopped with her hand on the knob, then, without turning back, don't confuse being seen with being chosen. And then she left. Hours later I stood in the mirror and tried to see what he saw. Not her, not Grace 20 years ago, just me, just Anna. I didn't look wiser. I didn't look strong. I looked like someone unraveling in slow motion. I called him. I didn't let myself think. I just said, come over. He came. He always did. When he walked in he looked tired. Like the guilt was starting to catch up. I saw her, I said before he could speak. He nodded. She told me she was going. She thinks you're going to leave me too. His jaw clenched. I'm not. She says you confuse guilt for love. He stepped closer. Do you believe that? I didn't answer. I didn't come back to undo the past, he said. I came back because the moment I saw you, I realized I hadn't felt anything in years. I stared at him. And now you feel everything, I whispered. Yes. I'm scared. So am I. Then he reached for me, and I let him. We didn't sleep together, not that night. We just lay on the couch, tangled in each other like a prayer neither of us deserved. He held my hand the whole time, like he was anchoring himself to the one thing he was most afraid to lose, and I held his, like I knew one day, this would all catch fire. But for now, we were still safe inside the matchbox. The day everything came undone, the sky was the color of bruises. I knew it was going to rain. I could feel it before I even left the apartment. That low electric pressure in the air, like something was building behind the clouds. Holding its breath fitting, because I'd been doing the same for weeks. The confrontation had happened in the grocery store. Of all places, aisle 6. Near the oranges, Michael was standing there with some girl, brunette, too much lip gloss, laughing. Like she'd never been told no. He didn't see me at first, but she did, and just loud enough for everyone around to hear. She said, is that the one who slept with your dad? I didn't move. Didn't flinch. Michael turned. His eyes widened, then narrowed. You've got to be kidding me, he muttered. People were watching now. I stayed still. He walked toward me, slow, like I was a bomb, and he was debating whether to disarm it or drop it. Do you enjoy destroying people? He said under his breath. I didn't destroy you, I replied calmly. You left before I could even try. He laughed bitterly. And him? I tilted my head. Maybe he wanted to be rebuilt. Michael's expression curdled. Is that what this is? He snapped. Some tragic father-shaped void you're trying to fill? No, I said. But you're definitely a sun-shaped one I'll never miss. He didn't answer. Just walked off, face red, dragging the girl behind him by the wrist like a leash. I stood there for a long time after. I didn't cry. I didn't run. I just picked up a single orange, paid for it, and walked out into the parking lot. And by the time the clouds finally opened, I was already walking toward the storm. The letter that night, I wrote Richard a letter, not a text, not a call, not something that could be deleted. A letter. I didn't write, I love you. I didn't write, goodbye. I just wrote the truth. You didn't save me. I wasn't drowning. I was standing on the edge of the water, trying to decide whether to jump. You didn't grab my hand, you just stood next to me, quietly, and said, if you go in, I'll go in too. That was enough. You made me feel seen. And maybe that's more dangerous than love. Because love fades. But being seen? That never goes away. You weren't my mistake, but you were never meant to be my ending. Thank you for stopping the car, thank you for not driving past, but this road keeps going, and I have to walk it alone now, not because I don't want you, but because I finally want myself more. I left the letter on the bench where we sat that first night in the rain. I didn't stay to watch him find it. I didn't wait for closure. Some doors don't close, they stay open forever, not so you can walk back through them, but so you can remember what it cost to leave. 1 year later, I still walk past that cafe sometimes. I don't wait outside anymore. I sit inside, warm coffee between my palms, listening to the hum of strangers. Sometimes, I see a black sedan at the light. My heart still stirs. Like a bird remembering a sky it can't return to, but then the light changes, and the car moves on, and so do I. He gave me 20 minutes and a second chance at my own story. I gave him a memory he wasn't allowed to keep. We weren't a mistake. We were the scar that reminded us what it meant to heal, and healing, I've learned, doesn't always come wrapped in arms. Sometimes, it comes in silence, and the decision to walk away, even when the car finally stops.